Welcome to Self-Care Tips. I am Irene Joroge, and today we're looking at the most important issue of time management. How do you manage your time? We've all heard the saying that time and tide waits for no man and no woman. Manage time so that you can get a lot done. And there's so many ways to do this. It is not difficult. Once you begin and get into the system, get used to it, you'll find yourself accomplishing a lot each day with just a few simple measures of time management. Stand by for more. Have you ever learned about how to set your body clock? And did you know that you can actually reset your body clock? Within 14 days, you will be able to wake up 2 hours earlier and do a lot more during that time. All you need to do is to set your alarm clock for 2 hours earlier in the morning. For example, if you usually wake up at 7, start setting it for 5 a.m. and then make sure by 5 a.m. you are awake and ready to start the day. Don't linger on in bed. Get up, get started. Within 14 days, your body will have changed to automatically waking up at 5 a.m. Start planning your next day in the evening. Get everything that you need and think about it mentally. Think about the things that you need to do the next day, and then of course give room for emergencies. Anything can happen. Here is a checklist of some of the things you should cut out and rule out in order to avoid wasting time. The first one, and we all know that, is the phone. Do you know you can actually spend 3 hours a day on Facebook and other social media posts just reading and trying to look at things that are not even useful to you? Try and cut them out as much as possible. Another thing that you need to do is also to stop wasting time on a lot of TV. Of course, programs like Self-Care Tips are helpful, but there are others that are really not. And finally, we all know about procrastination. The more you postpone doing things, the more time you will waste. So remember, procrastination is a thief of time. Do it now and do it today. This has been Self-Care Tips on time management. I am Irene Joroge.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
A true love in which family will be the main hardship to achieve happiness.
Well, I understand it, Mom, but I don't want to break up with Adrian.
Paulina will have to confront her own father. And Adrian will suffer due to his sister Julieta's obsession.
No! Not with her! No! Not with her! No!
Paulina is the woman I truly love!
No!
But regardless of jealousy and intrigue,
Karen, open the door, please!
they will fight for their love until the end.
Of April 2022, 3 months before the general election. Good evening and thank you for joining us.
And of course, our special segment, Kenya Decides, begins tonight. our reporter and our co-anchor, actually,
Safina
Safina
Chieng, yes,
will be hosting.
She'll be hosting a number of people. The topic of discussion tonight is Kenya Decides, and the program show is called Kenya Decides. The topic of discussion, media security and elections, and our hosts, she has a panel, Victor Bwire, who's a director of media training and development from the Media Council of Kenya. We have Kericho, who's the Secretary General, Kenya Union of Journalists, and Houghton Irungu, Amnesty International Executive Director. We will be crossing over to her right after this live broadcast.
Absolutely, and she'll be coming to us live from Norfolk Hotel.
That's right across Broadcasting House. But let's take a look first at our headline stories tonight. A nation in danger. Interior CS warns the next parliament could be in the hand of racketeers. ODM prized certificate. Intrigues and chaos play out in Kisumu nominations. Plus, seeking more funds, head teachers want capitation increased or be allowed to hike school fees. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Mboya.
My name is Purity Museo, and Wangeshi is our sign language interpreter tonight at KBC Channel 1 News at Purity_Museo at Tomboya24. The hashtag is Prime Edition. Remember, tonight our special election coverage segment, Kenya Decides, begins tonight with Safina Chieng Ouma, and we talk about media security and elections.
Yeah. And she's hosting Victor Bwire, who's a director at MCK. We have Kericho, who's the Secretary General of Kenya Union of Journalists, as well as Houghton Irungu, the Executive Director of Amnesty International. You don't want to miss that right at the tail end of this live broadcast. But first things first, our headline story. The government has expressed concern over the caliber of leaders to be elected in the next parliament, owing to increasing incidents of money laundering witnessed as the country approaches the general election.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i said such practices threaten national security.
Irene Muchuma opens our coverage with that report.
The Anglican Church of Kenya Bishops and Clergy 5-day conference began in Nairobi on Tuesday, focusing on the role of the church in elections. The chief guest, Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i, was accompanied by his communication counterpart Joe Musheru, Inspector General of Police Hilary Mtiambai, and Attorney General Paul Kihara, who stated the role the agencies will play.
We have seen political leaders moving around, massing groups of people and giving them money. Some of them are actually caught on tape, asking one age to queue, and they're just giving them money to attend meetings or to do certain things.
Is it possible we find a way of being able to sanitize most of this information that is out there, so that we have you speak even more when truth is actually not being told?
In his address, Matiang'i cautioned the electorate over the increasing cases of voter bribery and commercialization of politics, terming it a threat to national security.
These people are the only ones who have that kind of money that they will give around like that. They will be in our elective institutions. They will be writing laws for you. And they will allow themselves to allow that gambling and all those things to thrive in this country.
He reckoned that the threat of perverting parliamentary democracy and county assemblies business by having people with questionable integrity is real.
You drive public money in that state. You eat food bought by that public state that you are condemning. You live in a house of that state. When does it become deep? And deeper than this?
He challenged politicians to address the dangerous link between corruption and election outcomes. On the insecurity in Marsabit, Matiang'i said adequate security will be deployed to quell clashes that are pitting communities against each other.
The things I have heard and collected from people in that county are not spoken anywhere in this country.
You must assist us and this country
in keeping the flock together towards the salvation that has been declared by Christ's resurrection. And we said we are not going to shy away from what's happening in the public. We will engage.
Irene Mchuma Odim, the Prime Edition.
To some politics, Deputy President Dr. William Ruto has assured the Church of a free operational space if he is elected as president in the August 9th poll. Ruto says the church plays a critical role in the country's governance, which calls for a safeguarding of worship. Ruto, who was in Meru, lauded the UDA party for conducting what he termed as fair nominations. Here is more with John Jacob Curia.
The Deputy President was in Nyeri County to condole the family of Kikuyu MP Kimani Ichung'wah, who lost his mother-in-law. Ruto sought to assure the church that he would protect the freedom of worship in the country in the backdrop of calls to regulate the church.
Na msiwe na wasiwasi kwamba kuna mtu yeyote atakuja kufunga kazi ya kanisa. Haiwezekani. It is not possible.
The Deputy President called on Nyeri residents to support his presidential bid, as his administration would prioritize the expansion of the economy to cushion the poor.
Wakenya hawana shida na Wakenya wengine wa kutoka jamii zingine. Ile tatizo kubwa tuko nayo ni tatizo ya uchumi. Na tumesema uchaguzi wa mwaka huu ni uchaguzi ambao tutautumia kushughulikia uchumi wa taifa letu la Kenya.
His allies drumming up support for Ruto and the UDA party, claiming it had conducted credible nominations devoid of interference.
Watu wengine ambao hata hawakudhubutu kufanya any of their preliminaries, party preliminaries, wameanza kutulaumu ati tulifanya na hawa. I was telling the Deputy President, asante ulitupeleka UDA.
In the meantime, Naivasha MP Jane Kihara will now fly the party's flag after she was issued with the party's nomination certificate. This after the UDA Disputes Tribunal overturned former MP John Kihage's win and found that Kihara had beaten Kihage with a single vote. Kihara has also in the meantime blamed Nakuru Senator and gubernatorial aspirant Susan Kihika, accusing her of meddling with the nominations.
Kama naomba kura za Naivasha ama za county, awachane kushika yeyote mkono, ndio sisi zote tumtafikie kura. Lakini akituonyesha kuna yule anapendelea, ujue wengine hatutamfanyia kazi.
The party's National Election Board is in the meantime preparing to conduct repeat nominations in various parts of the country Wednesday and Thursday, after conducting nominations in Nandi Hills constituency in Nandi County Tuesday. Meanwhile, a section of aspirants in the Moses Kuria-led Chama cha Kazi have protested alleged blackmail and underhand dealings that have seen some of them lose out on the nomination certificates. Police officers had to be called in to diffuse simmering tensions, threatening to explode to violence at party headquarters. The party has, however, assured aspirants that it will issue nomination certificates by the 28th.
I want to make an assurance that we shall give every person their certificate, more so those ones who they are not contesting within one, isn't it? Most of you here are not contesting within one.
Former Kiambu Governor William Kabogo has dispelled rumours that he is being offered a cabinet secretary slot by the Kenya Kwanza coalition so as to drop his bid for governorship. Speaking Tuesday afternoon after being cleared by the Tujibebe wa Kenya Party Elections Board to run for governorship, Kabogo said he was ready for a face-off with his competitors, regardless of their party affiliations.
I am not employable, if that answers your question. I cannot be hired for an 8-to-5 job. I can only be hired by Wanjiko through the ballot.
John Jacob Curia, Prime Edition.
Wiper Democratic Movement has settled on former Kitui Governor Julius Makau Malombe as its candidate for the Kitui gubernatorial contest in August 9th general election. The party nominated Malombe through a consensus process that it says has taken over 2 weeks between the former governor and immediate former Kenya ambassador to Uganda, Kiema Kilonzo, spearheaded by the party leader Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. Gishuki Washira reports.
Former Kitui Governor Julius Malombe will fly the Wiper Democratic Party ticket In the Kitui gubernatorial contest in the August 9th general election, Malombe was awarded the ticket after consensus with his competitor, former Kenya ambassador to Uganda Kiema Kilonzo, spearheaded by the Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka.
And the decision was that this ticket should be given to Governor Dr. Julius Malombe. And NEC unanimously, actually they were clapping, unanimously adopted.
Deputy Speaker Jessica Mbalu also got the direct ticket to vie for Kibwezi East constituency on Wiper ticket after her competitor William Malile agreed to support her bid. Meanwhile, a section of Kajiado Central constituency residents want ODM party to include the constituency in the nominations slated for Wednesday. ODM will be undertaking nominations in Kajiado North and Kajiado East constituencies. The party has already issued a direct ticket to Elijah Memusi for the Kajiado Central parliamentary seat.
Ya kwamba wana Matapato North, sisi hatuna wasiwasi, tumejitayarisha, tumepiga kampeni na tumeingia mashinani kabisa, tumetafuta kura, lakini haitakuwa haki kama hatutapata mchujo huu ambao uliwekwa tarehe 20 mwezi huu wa 4 ambao tulikuwa tunautarajia kuwa ni kesho.
Tumesikia kwamba kutakuwa na nomination kwa maana jana ilipostiwa kwamba zile vituo ambayo ama zile places ambao kutakuwa na nomination kama pale Kajiado East, Kajiado North na Kajiado West, lakini Kajiado Central particularly Matapato North hakuna nomination ambayo iliweza kugazetiwa jana. Na kwa sababu ya hiyo tunanyimwa haki yetu kama wakazi wa Kajiado.
Baba, you know very much that we love you so much. We love ODM. We are kindly requesting this, that let the people of Matapato elect their preferred candidate.
Meanwhile, ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna now says constituent parties in the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party will field candidates in Nairobi County.
I think there is agreement that let everybody field their own candidates, because it is going to be very difficult to reach consensus on who drops out for whom. So in the interest of saving all of us unnecessary tears, let every political party, because you see from the side of ODM, we are very confident because of the work we have done as a party, building this party and ensuring that it has support to the grassroots and to have structures all the way to the polling stations, that in fact ODM candidates will do very well in majority of the areas in Nairobi.
Gishoki Washira, Prime Edition.
Let's now move away from politics. Secondary school head teachers are calling for an upward review of the capitation fund to help meet the demand for quality education across the country. Kenya Secondary Schools Heads Association Chair Alfred Indimuli says the 22,244 shillings allocated to each student per year hardly meets their budget. Here is more with Ann Buro.
Head teachers are meeting in Mombasa for an annual conference convened to take stock of the gains made in the achievement of quality basic education across 10,413 secondary schools in the country. On Tuesday, the head teachers want the capitation fund reviewed upwards.
There should be an increase in capitation. An increase, the figures that were worked out showing an increase of about 28%. And the mathematicians here say that is just about 6,000 shillings to raise. Maybe the figure will reach 30,000 per child. That, the principal's feel, will be comfortable.
Kesha Chairman Alfred Indimuli says parents must do more in facilitating schools to help bridge financial gaps.
The fees payable by parents in boarding schools should also be looked at, because for the last 10 years, the price of food and all other boarding-related facilities has gone up. Here, a proposal of about 13% has been made.
Basic Education Principal Secretary Julius Juan assured the principals that the ministry will be releasing over 60 billion shillings to schools next week.
There is over 16 billion shillings for secondary schools the next term. And this is a week, if not more than a week, earlier than before we open, and over 2 billion shillings for primary schools. So as we open, there will be money in the schools, and there will be circulars explaining how that money is being used.
School principals are proposing a raft of improvement to the curriculum, among them the introduction of laptop project for secondary schools.
I know the laptop project that started off in the primary should have continued and it reaches secondary, so that we are able to have a gadget that can be used in schools, so that we stem down the discipline that we are always seeing when students sneak in mobile phones. We know that it is badly used during exams, but then can we get a gadget that students can use in schools and only allow them to access educational materials?
For Prime Edition from Mombasa County, I am Anburu.
To the COVID situation now, the lifeline of the 1 million Johnson & Johnson vaccine doses, which had been projected to expire by the 15th of April, has been reviewed. The chair of the COVID vaccines task force, Dr. Willis Halwale, says that although the World Health Organization has increased the lifeline of the said vaccines from 4.5 months to 11 months, the Kenya Medical Research Institute is conducting research to ascertain whether they can be administered. This even as the daily vaccine uptake reduces from the daily COVID vaccines, reduced from 1,000 people to 50 people.
In an interview with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, the COVID Vaccine Task Force Chair, Dr. Willis Ahwale, said a multi-institutional research is being conducted on the vaccines and a report will be issued by next week on their usability.
Johnson & Johnson vaccine, when frozen, the shelf life is 2 years. We had about 1 million doses that had been thawed, means they were not frozen. They had been removed from freezing. Now, the shelf life of the third vaccine has been reviewed by WHO, and we have got information that this shelf life is likely to be extended beyond the 4.5 months earlier.
While expressing concern on the low number of Kenyans getting vaccinated, Ahwale warned that the cold season between April and June might see an increase in the positivity rate. Nairobi, Nyeri and Kakamega are still the leading counties in vaccine uptake, even though the numbers have dropped.
The low uptake is now across the country, but we are also concerned, of course, with the north, the counties in the arid and semi-arid lands, but also counties with high populations both in central, eastern and western Kenya that are not doing as well as we had expected.
Dr. Lois Mutai, a medical superintendent at Mbagathi Hospital, attributed this to decrease in positivity rate.
And that our isolation unit, the 160-bed capacity, has not been put to a lot of use, but whenever there have been COVID patients, we've kept them there. Up to the end of last week, we had only one COVID patient in the unit. But before then, about 3 weeks ago, there was cholera outbreak in Nairobi, and there was need for isolation.
To address this, the government will collaborate with counties to enhance awareness on the need for vaccines to ensure the 8 million doses available do not go to waste. For Prime Edition, I'm Zainab Said.
Let's stay with health affairs. The Minister of Health has launched 3 policy documents on menstrual hygiene management and urban sanitation guidelines. The documents contain a framework that will enable the improvement of hygiene and sanitation in schools and urban areas. Nancy Okware reports.
In 2017, a report by UNICEF placed Kenya among 26 countries in the world responsible for 90% of open defecation. 5 years later, the Kenyan government is moving to change the narrative. The Ministry of Health on Tuesday launched 3 additional policy documents to provide a framework for the implementation of sanitation and hygiene interventions. The documents include the Hygiene Promotion in Schools Handbook, a handbook on menstrual hygiene management in schools that will remedy challenges girls face when menstruating.
The menstrual hygiene management in schools, again a handbook for teachers, reinforcing learning
and also acting as a reference guide for teachers, such that it will remedy the various challenges that schoolgirls face while menstruating, and will work towards the provision of factual information to break the silence in terms of myths, taboos, beliefs, and misconceptions.
The Kenya National Guidelines for Implementation of Urban Sanitation document was also launched and will help provide direction on safe disposal of fecal sludge in urban areas and sanitation planning under urban development.
These guidelines will ensure that development plans for urban areas have inbuilt sanitation components and sanitation systems that are designed and managed safely to protect human health from microbial hazards caused by human excreta and the consequent adverse health outcomes that come out of that. What are we going to do really truly when it comes to implementation? And we know, I think as county governments, we know you have to have the resources in place.
Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
Our story brings us to our first break right here on KBC Prime Edition.
Absolutely. And on Kenya Decides tonight, Safina Cheng Ouma speaks about media, security and election from Norfolk. She'll be joining us live, or she'll be coming to us live from Norfolk Hotel. You do not want to miss that. Business news and sports as well. Stay with us.
Now regard themselves among the dispossessed. Prince Philip also opened the new independent parliament. The occasion obviously enjoyed by... Besides acknowledging the legacy which Britain leaves, Kenya has elected to remain within the Commonwealth. After Prince Philip had read the speech from the throne, Mr. Kenyatta was to express his hopes for a happy continuation of the special relationship Kenya has always had with Great Britain. We can build in Kenya, he said, a country in which race, tribe, colour or creed form no barrier. This was certainly the theme of the state ball.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Ili kupata mafuta kupanda kama skiza tune kwenye simu yako, bonyeza star 811 star 397 hash.
Nashukuru serikali kwa kuongeza bei ya mafuta. Sasa niko kwa highway na hakuna traffic hata kidogo. Naomba serikali iendelee hivyo, tubaki tu watu ya gasla na heavy machine peke yake. Pia mimi naomba huyu serikali waseme kama gari yako ni below 3000 cc, gari yako
ili kupata mafuta kupanda kama skiza tune, bonyeza star 811 star 397 hash. Star 811 star 397 hash.
Welcome back. 5 people were last night killed at Mweromalia village in Meru County. The raid is believed to be a revenge attack by Somali camel herders from the neighboring Isiolo County after locals killed 10 camels that had invaded their farms earlier during the day.
The irate locals barricaded the Isiolo-Muriri road, protesting laxity by police as the attackers terrorized locals for hours. Beatrice Gatonye has the report.
Residents of Mweromalia village in Meru lamented over the government's failure to beef up security in the area as promised during the Requiem Mass for 7 other people who were killed in the neighboring Mweronkoro village 2 months ago. They complained that the security agencies had not done enough in tracking down the killers, arguing that owners of the slain camels had earlier visited the scene in the company of local government administrators and an area police boss and warned of of dire consequences following the killing of the camels.
Last time watu tulikuwa hapa Moronkoro, watu wameuawa. Last week bado watu mzozo inaendelea. Kwa hivyo sisi tunauliza kama watu wa Mudhara na watu wa Tigani wote. Watu wangamia waliambiwa wasiingie Meru tena. Last time wakati tulikuwa mkutano ya Moronkoro wakati watu 7 waliuawa, county commissioner na pia Mboya na gavana wetu Kericho Murungi alisema ngamia zitaingia tena kwa border kwa border ya Meru.
Hezron Mageria Dhambura, a village resident and relative to one of the deceased persons, also accused the government of disarming Kenya Police Reservice from the Meru side a few years ago, while a similar disarmament exercise was not conducted in the neighboring Isiolo.
Tumepoteza watu wengi, watu ambao kabisa hawakuwa wanafaa kupoteza maisha yao kutokea na kitendo cha kiunyama kilitendeka hapo usiku. Na ni ombi letu serikali iweze kutimiza maadi ambayo imetuwekea kwa muda mrefu.
The irate locals called on area leaders to stop politicking and instead address security situation in the region that is deteriorating by day.
Tunaomba serikali ichukue hatua, iact on hii maneno na imalize mara moja, kwa sababu tunahitaji amani. Na kama hakutakuwa na hawata intervene, hakutakuwa na amani hii area.
Beatrice Getonyeng-Etich, Prime Edition.
And we hope normalcy shall be restored in that area. In other news, it is a county synonymous with tea and one surrounded by hills. It has placed Kenya on the world map in terms of tea production. In tonight's edition of County Fact File, we take a look at county code 035 Kericho.
The tea country, as it were, this is Kericho County, code number 35, the area that has significantly contributed in making Kenya the third world largest tea producer. Agriculture is the main source of livelihood in Kericho County, with tea as the cash crop contributing more than 80% of household incomes and employs over 50% of the county's population. Some of the largest tea companies, including Unilever Kenya, James Finley and Williamson Tea, are based there. It is also home to the popular Ketepa brand. The county is surrounded by a number of hills such as Tinderet Hills to the north, Mau Escarpment and Londiani Hills. A good number of rivers emanate from the county, including Chemosit, Kipteret, Kipsonoi, Timblil, Maramara, Itare, Nyando, Kipchorian and Malaget. Kericho is among 14 counties located in the former Rift Valley province. The county borders Western Gishu County to the northwest, Baringo County to the north, Nandi County to the northwest, Nakuru County to the east and Bomet County to the south. The county has a population of 901,777 as per the 2019 Housing and Population Census, with the county headquarters based in Kericho town. There are 6 sub-counties, 30 electoral wards, 85 locations and 209 sub-locations. The county has 6 constituencies with 375,668 registered voters and 780 polling stations. The constituencies are Ainamoi, Belgut, Bureti, Kipkelion East, Kipkelion West and Sigowet Soin constituency. Paul Kiprono Chepkwony is the governor, serving his second and final term in office after being elected both in 2013 and 2017.
County 035. Well, that brings us to our second break right here on KBC Prime.
We still have plenty more coming up, including business and sports. Also, Kenya Decides tonight.
Premiers Safina Chieng hosting Victor Bure, Director of the Media Council of Kenya, Eric Oduor, Secretary General Kenya, Union of Journalists, as well as Houghton Irungu, Executive Director, Amnesty International. You don't want to miss that. We're taking a short break. We'll be back shortly.
na bonga na watoi kujua mambo za online, pia na create fanye vitu offline. Chungeni gadgets na sites wana use, siwache strangers wapate chance kuabuse.
Nimeshindaje pesa kompe sija participate. Unadai info yangu na ikwe private say. Identity yangu haupati hautumi. Vitu zangu ni zangu na bado nitazishikilia.
Una post story ati ni real news. Mimi sikuamini mpaka nione size of this. Una text online to me tunanifeel. Staki jokes mimi nitakureport for real.
Wazazi, watoi na maithu wetu. Don't be fooled. Get cyber smart and enjoy safe entertainment and education online.
The Communications Authority of Kenya. Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako.
Sichagua kati ya kakangu na mpenzi wangu. Mama, are you really okay?
There's nothing you can say to change what I feel.
Sijakuja hapa kwa kuwa nimekumisi. Naona utazipata hizo tabu sana.
Achana kujipendekeza kwa mume wangu.
Umemaliza? Oh, okay.
The legendary run to Olympia Stadion in Berlin is now less crowded, with only 4 teams out of 64 still in contention. Something more outstanding is that all of the sides to have won the DFB Pokal over the last 29 years are already out this year.
And Leverkusen are knocked out by a Bundesliga 2 side.
In the first DFB Pokal semi-final, Hamburger SV will face Freiburg on Tuesday, the 19th of April 2022 at 9:45 p.m. While in the second semi-final, RB Leipzig will lock horns with Union Berlin on Wednesday, the 20th April 2022 at 9:45 p.m. Having braced the turbulent journey and buoyed up with the trophy inside, no team want to go down without a fight. You don't want to miss this adventurous football show, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Welcome back. Well, as we had indicated to you, Safina Chieng is right across Broadcasting House at Fairmount Norfolk Hotel, and our show Kenya Decides premiering tonight. Safina Chieng hosting a number of guests, and the topic tonight is
media security and elections. Safin, it's good to speak with you. I know there are a lot of issues to discuss, especially on the freedom of media and media coverage ahead of the August elections. Maybe you can bring us to speed on what we expect from the premier show Kenya Decides tonight.
Indeed, a very good evening to you there back in studio. Purity Museo and Tom Mboya. We are coming to you live from Fairmount, the Norfolk Hotel, for the premiere episode of Kenya Decides, a special political program by the state broadcaster KBC Channel 1 that is dedicated to setting the agenda ahead of the 2022 general election. We are going every Tuesday from 10 to 11 p.m. to be having constructive debates that will help Kenyans make informed decisions on who is going to be part and parcel of the next crop of leadership in the next 5 years. So every Tuesday we promise you an informative conversation, a program that is going to enlighten you on what is your role as a voter. We are going to be starting tonight. They say charity begins at home. So we are going to be starting here by talking about media, security, and elections. I'm going to be having a panel of 3 stakeholders in the media industry who are representing the voice of the media and what has been done to ensure that members of the fourth estate play their role professionally and stay safe while at it. I'll be having a sit down with Victor Bwire, the Director, Media Training and Development at the Media Council of Kenya, and of course, Eric Oduor, the Secretary General of the Kenya Union of Journalists. And we're also going to be joined by Irungu Hilton, the Executive Director of Amnesty International here in Kenya. It's a program like no other, Purity and Tom, so our viewers can, of course, expect a lot from us as Team Kenya Decides. It's now back to you in studio.
So every Tuesday between 10 and 11 p.m. And they'll be tackling issues around leadership, the role of voters, as we head towards the general poll in August 9th.
And tonight we begin, as Safin says, that charity begins at home. The role of media as the fourth estate, of course, the role of media cannot be underestimated. Looking forward to that conversation from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m.
That's right. Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga has promised to transform the port of Mombasa into a free port in order to spur economic activities in the country.
He was speaking in Mombasa when he issued Orange Democratic Movement Party aspirants for various seats nomination certificates.
Mombasa gubernatorial candidate Abdul Swamad Sharif once again pledged to work together with Suleiman Shebal, who abandoned his quest for the gubernatorial seat in favor of Sharif.
Ilipangwa na mimi na Kibaki. Mimi najua pale tulitoka na yeye. Haijafanyika vile tulikuwa tunataka. Lakini sasa mjini unipatie mimi miezi mitatu baada ya tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8. Utaona mabadiliko makubwa. Mimi siko kwa debe safari hii. Niko na wakati mwingi sana. Nataka kuambia wapinzani wajipange, wajue kwamba jimbo la Pwani ni jimbo la ODM. Wale watakaoweza kupatiwa certificate yao hii leo, nyosheni mkono kwa kila mmoja mlioshindana naye, kwa sababu mnahitaji watu wote ili muweze kuendelesha Mombasa hii. Sasa wanajui la kufanya. Mimi nataka kuomba hawa wakuja wafanye benchmarking kwa chama cha ODM ili fundishe hawa namna ya kufanya mchujo.
We now focus on business matters. My name is Caroline Jenger. Coffee trading might be disrupted if the new coffee 2022 regulations are gazetted in their current form. Among other regulations fronted by the Food and Agriculture Authority is removing the coffee broker licensing from the Capital Markets Authority that has so far licensed a number of brokers. This emerged during a public participation forum in Nairobi, marked by disruption after some farmers of the meeting. What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? Is that the story?
Without say paying one Kenya billion shillings. Where do these farmers get the 1 billion?
The Agriculture and Food Authority says there's need for more negotiations before the payment system is put in place to ensure prompt payment of farmers, and is against farmers being paid directly, rather preferring payment through cooperatives.
All coffee sales from the auction floor will be deposited in accounts farmers have conveyed or the coffee estate farmers have given. So I don't see any complexity. It's only that it's a new idea and the change is normal.
It says being a facility should not hold the farmers' money even at a given point. The money, once the money hits the system, is supposed to ensure that all the deductions that are supposed to be made are made and the money is sent immediately to the farmer's account.
The coffee bill is currently at the Senate after undergoing a third reading in the National Assembly, with another government-sponsored bill still at the first reading in the National Assembly. Benson Roba reporting for Prime Edition.
You are likely to experience delays when clearing imported goods after contracts with the Kenya Bureau of Standards had with the third-party companies to undertake pre-inspection of goods expired. This means imported goods, with exception from motor vehicles, spare parts, consolidated goods and goods on transit to other countries, are from the beginning of this month being inspected at points of entry into Kenya. Kenya Bureau of Standards Managing Director Bernard Njiriaine says this is a temporary situation as the agency shops for pre-shipment inspectors.
While the burden of proof of conformance to standards lies with the importer, the situation is bound to get tougher for local players as the Kenya Bureau of Standards is yet to recruit pre-shipment inspectors following the expiry of contracts of previous dealers as at the end of March.
Today, the contracts of the partners undertaking inspection of general goods legally ended on that 1st March 2022, hence the application of destination inspection in the interim as a contingency plan.
This means all inspection of most imported goods is being done at points of entry in Kenya. The pre-shipment inspectors were meant to help firsten the cargo clearance process by having the officially appointed dealers inspect and issue certificates of conformity.
We are very much aware that for us to be competitive as a country, we have to reduce the logistic cost, and goods delaying at the port will generally increase the cost of goods. So we are very much aware of that, and that is why we will do targeting for those risky products, test them, and also ensure that we use documentation. This is a common practice world over, where manufacturers are expected to issue certificate of analysis, test reports, and it's on that basis that we use those documents to verify and indicate that.
Effective beginning of this month, there's a likelihood that importers will experience delays clearing their cargo at points of entry.
We have not yet concluded this process, but we are looking forward to having 6 PVUC partners to work with us. The process is ongoing. In less than a month, we'll probably have new contracted partners.
The Kenya Bureau of Standards is shopping for pre-shipment inspectors. In the interim, KEBS has directed that all general goods be subjected to inspection at the point of entry, with exception of motor vehicles, mobile equipment, spare parts, consolidated goods and goods on transit to other countries. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
The government is investigating fuel marketing companies that increased pump prices during the 3-week fuel supply crisis witnessed in the country and is urging you to report any petrol station selling fuel above the recommended price. Acting Petroleum and Mining Cabinet Secretary Monica Juma says the Directorate of Criminal Investigations is probing fuel marketers that did not maintain the minimum operational stocks, sold fuel at exorbitant prices, or were hoarding petroleum products. The 3-week fuel shortage saw motorists spend long hours in queues to get the commodity, while some petrol stations turned away customers due to lack of fuel. Some fuel marketing companies took advantage of the situation and were selling fuel above the recommended price. It also emerged that some dealers were reselling the petroleum products bought from major oil marketing company stations, with a litre going as high as 300 shillings. And today, the Ministry of Petroleum and Mining says it is investigating fuel marketing companies that increased fuel prices above the recommended price during that period. The Directorate of Criminal Investigations is pursuing fuel marketers that did not maintain the minimum operational stocks or were hoarding petroleum products. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, is also set to take stern action on 4 petrol stations who offered petroleum for sale above the recommended price. The petrol stations are located at Migori, Kehancha, Awendo and Isebania respectively. Kenyans have also been urged to report petrol stations selling fuel above the recommended prices. This comes even as the ministry underscores resumption of the fuel supply in the country. Acting Petroleum and Mining Cabinet Secretary Monica Juma says Kenya Pipeline Company has 120 million litres of super petrol and 212 million litres of diesel. Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Rashid Aman says technology, digitization and data is key in supporting the efficient use of existing financing, mobilization of additional financing and improving healthcare delivery and outcomes. Dr. Aman says even though the government has employed the use of technology in scaling up of health coverage, more needs to be done to avail health coverage to those in the informal sector and remote areas.
Kenya's journey towards automating health services has been a steady work in progress. To discuss the cutting-edge catalytic role of digital innovations in healthcare financing and advancing the universal health coverage agenda in Kenya, healthcare stakeholders have converged to further strengthen Kenya's health system.
The telecommunications sector is a key enabler to the country's economic growth. This is evidenced by increased government use of information and communications technology in the provision of e-government services like e-education and now the famous e-citizen. We know that where physical presence is difficult due to lack of adequate specialists or other challenges that is in the health sector, technology would provide a perfect bridge to healthcare services, connecting healthcare workers to patients.
Healthcare stakeholders from the private sector as well as the national and county governments converged in Nairobi to deliberate on Kenya's digital health innovation towards the universal health coverage.
Digital innovations promote efficient delivery in 3 key healthcare financing principles of UHC. First, reduced out-of-pocket expenditure. Secondly, accumulation and management of prepaid funds, i.e. pooling of funds, and thirdly, strategic purchasing of health services.
They said digital technology can mobilize additional financing for health, scale health coverage to those who have been excluded from the health system, and improve healthcare delivery and outcomes.
Just to be able to reiterate some of the key issues that have been brought so far, I think one issue that came up was the issue about technology helping us in poverty mapping. And this really focuses on the poor of the poorest, who are at the bottom. So it helps us to identify so that we are able to catch the right fish.
Farm Access used the event to mark its 20th anniversary, with Wasuna saying the organization has contributed to strengthening Kenya's healthcare system by leveraging data and technology to support various initiatives on health financing and delivery. Reporting for Prime Edition, I am Dutamo Kame.
That story brings to a close business news for tonight, but you can find more stories on our website at kbc.co.ke. Richard Munga is up next with a sports update. My name is Caroline Jenger. See you tomorrow for more business news.
Oh, good evening and thank you for joining us for tonight's edition of KBC Sports Update with me, Richard Munga. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta says the government is committed to supporting people living with disabilities shape their careers and achieve their dreams in sports. Uhuru chose the flagged off Team Kenya ahead of the 24th Summer Deaf Olympics slated for May 1st to the 15th in Brazil. The first batch of the contingent will leave the country on Thursday, while the second batch will leave on Saturday ahead of the global showpiece. Speaking at State House Nairobi, President Uhuru Kenyatta noted that the government is at the forefront to ensure that they promote sporting activities in Kenya as an investment to the future generations.
Today, you prove that in Kenya, disability is not inability. You will join the ranks of your abled brothers and sisters who have brought pride to this country, and I am certain, as Ambassador Amina has said, that you too shall not fail in bringing pride to your country.
The contingent of 124 athletes is optimistic of staging a good show in the global showpiece.
Kenya, Your Excellency, is sending 124 athletes who will take part in 5 different disciplines: athletics, basketball, golf, handball and football competitions. And Your Excellency, you remember that there was one of us who won one of the golf competitions and you actually awarded him a golf kit.
Team Kenya will be out to defend the men's 5,000 meters and men's 1,500 meters races. Kenya will participate in various disciplines excluding badminton team, which won't travel after failing to take part in the World Championship and Africans Championship, which acted as a qualifier event. Simon Cherono Kibai will be looking forward to maintain a stellar performance in the men's 10 kilometers, with Beryl Otieno eyeing the 200 meters gold medal. The first batch of the contingent will depart to Brazil on Thursday this week, while the second will leave the country on Saturday. For Prime Edition Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa. Well, as always, thank you, Daniel Mwendwa, for that report. Now, meanwhile, the road to Birmingham 2022 club games have begun in earnest following a colourful launch of the 100 days countdown to the quadrennial Commonwealth Games event by NOC, the body charged with its preparations. The day was celebrated as different martial arts teams showcased their talents, with gymnastics being the showstopper following the recent visit by the International Gymnastics Federation president this past weekend. The day is observed with anticipation and excitement as Kenya and its athletes count down to the games to use the platform to once again stamp global sporting prowess and showcase their depth of talent. Preparations are in top gear according to NOC, and NOC hopes that the team will make a major improvement from the last club games in Gold Coast in 2018, where Kenya managed 17 medals. The launch of the 100 days, the Commonwealth Games, gives momentum to all stakeholders while enhancing the focus and build-up towards the celebration of another global sporting bonanza.
You all know that every time that you step on that podium, be it you are number 3, be it the team sport, you are number 3 or 4, or even number 1, you are all carrying the aspirations and the excitement of all Kenyans.
Now, also the final day of the Kenya Open Chess Championship at the Luke Hotel produced another four-way tie at the top, with Uganda's Harold Wanyama winning the title on tie-break with 7.5 points after defeating compatriot Patrick Awumo of Victory Bank, Kenya in the open section of 150 players. Wanyama, who was seeded third, won bronze medal for Uganda in the 12th African Games Rapid Chess section in 2019 that were held in Rabat, Morocco. Pre-tournament favourite international master Arthur Segwanyi of Uganda had a disastrous outing, finishing 13th overall. In the ladies section of 40 players, Kenya's Triza Mwendo Mureithi caused the major upset to emerge sole winner after upsetting compatriot World Amateur Women silver medalist Joyce Nirango of KCB to finish on 7 points and pocket 80,000 shillings. And globally, Barcelona suffered a shock home La Liga defeat by relegated threatened Cadiz to leave leaders Real Madrid closer to clinching